Hey Truther fam, it's Sonia here. So I wanted to talk to you about my boobs. As I'm recording this, I'm dealing with pain all over my body. That feels like it's sort of in my bones or my blood or somewhere, and I'm really tired. Like I feel like I've been hit on the head, and that has been my pretty much my daily reality for a long time, like maybe the last close to 10 years, getting incrementally worse every year. And I think that I might have what they call breast implant illness. So I want to tell you the story about why I got breast implants and how that happened. And also, I just want to let you know that I'm getting them taken out soon. And I just want to document this a little bit, sort of share my journey with you. And we'll see how it goes. So hopefully it'll go well. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks in advance. So when I was young, I had naturally very large breasts, like at least a double D. And the problem though was that they were painful. Not only that they gave me tension in my shoulders and my back, but the breasts themselves were actually painful. It was probably just hormonal or something, but they called it fibrocystic breast disease, which, as I understand it now, is not really a disease, but it basically means you have very lumpy breasts. And I guess they react to hormones or something. I don't know how it works, but they were very sore all the time. And so I was restricted. Like I could not run. I would have to go like this to go down the stairs. I had to kind of discreetly hold my boobs down anytime there was any like bouncing. So dancing, I could only, plant my lower half and just sort of move my upper body. I couldn't like vigorously jump around. I couldn't really do sports. I mean, any of this stuff that I did, if I did it, I would just be in pain. So I avoided it. So I felt restricted, and I felt like they were kind of, I don't know, cramping my style. And I also had a bit of a complex about them because they were very big. So naturally they weren't sticking out like torpedoes. They had a bit of sag to them. I could put about 4 fingers under my boob. So you can imagine it went like this. Now, other than that, the shape was very nice. I thought they were saggy. I recently learned that the shape of breasts that I had is something called pseudo-ptotic breasts, which means not really saggy, but look saggy. Pseudo as in not really, and ptotic as in saggy. So I don't know, it means that they kind of look saggy from the side, but they aren't really. It's just the way they're shaped and where they're attached. Anyway, as a young woman, I thought I had big, saggy, painful boobs, and I wanted a breast reduction. And they were so large that I qualified on Medicare. Oh yes, let me show you first. Here's a picture of me before my surgery. This was me at the beach in Mexico. It's unbelievable how few pictures we took back in the day before the digital cameras and all that. We weren't really on film that much, so it was hard for me to find a picture of my original body. And this is me at 22 years old on the beach in Mexico, and those are my natural breasts. If I find another picture or two, I'll put them in here, and if not, well, I'll edit this part out. But so yeah, basically I had naturally large breasts. Looking back now, I think they look pretty good. But anyway, so my breasts were so large that I did qualify to have a reduction on Medicare. I went to see a doctor. His name was Gaston Schwartz, and he was very well renowned for doing breast reductions. My mother referred me to him. And he said, yes, I can do it on Medicare, and we have to take off a minimum of he said we have to take off minimum 250 grams, which would have been like about 1 cup size. And he said I would be a full C. And that's pretty much all he said. I postponed the surgery twice. I had a bit of hesitation about it. I finally went through with it on the 3rd time. There were some issues that happened like right around the time of my surgery, which caused a lot of sort of bad experiences in my life, but I don't want to make this video about that. But it led to a whole bunch of other stuff. But as far as the surgery itself went, when I woke up from the surgery, I looked down and I was shocked because it was like my breasts were gone. They were not a full C, they were maybe a B cup. And it turned out what he said was, yes, I have to take off at least 250 grams, but by law, because it's on Medicare, I have to take off as much breast tissue as possible. Now, he didn't tell me that when I planned the surgery and went into it. I found that out after. So I was pretty shocked because this was not what I was expecting. And I tried to just, deal with it. I was like, okay, so they're about, I don't know, they're maybe like an entire cup size smaller than I wanted. It's not the end of the world. They still look pretty good. Well, it didn't really work out. They kind of bottomed out. Like the breast just kind of went down, and the upper part was really scooped out and flat. There was not enough tissue. The nipple was up on the flat part. If you picture a breast like this, and your nipple's supposed to be on the peak, but it was like up on the top and the completely bottomed out. So I went back the next year and he tried to fix the bottoming out, opening the scar and sort of tucking it back in. It was a bit better, but my nipples were still up on the flat part, and now I had like dog ears on the side. It's like it puckered on the cleavage, and on the outside I had like these little puckers sticking out for where he just folded it down, because he didn't do the whole T-scar anchor shape or whatever. He just kind of pulled it down. So I was still not happy, and I was upset. It was like my boobs were gone. And I guess when you're 23, this kind of stuff, it really affects you a lot. And I was really upset about it, and I was just miserable basically from the time I had the surgery until I was, how old was I? At 25, my father finally took pity on me and paid for me to get breast implants. So that was how I ended up getting the implants. Now, the implants were not very large. Okay, so here I am. Here's my chest. This is with the implants. The implants are actually not very large. They're only up here. They were to fill out the upper part that was sort of hollowed out. And they're pretty small. They're about a cup size. And this all here, that's still my boob. I got those implants, and I never really liked them 100%. I always felt that they were way too high up. I mean, it's never perfect. The problem was my breasts were very scooped out up here. My nipple was like on the flat part, like I said. I couldn't deal with it. I told him, I want you to fill this out. He took that very literally and gave me implants very high up. But I was just like, okay, I'm done. Like, that's fine. I'm just going to move on. And so that was it. I was like, okay, my boobs aren't perfect, but whatever. And then for the next 30 years, up until now, or it's almost 30 years, 27 years, I've had these implants. When I got the implants, the only complication they mentioned to me was possibility of capsular contracture, where the capsule around the implant contracts and makes your boob very hard and uncomfortable, and that was it, really, other than like short-term issues like pain or possibly infection. Capsular contracture was pretty much the only thing they mentioned, and it was many years ago already, 10 or 15 years ago. I started Googling, like, well, are there any other consequences from getting breast implants? And there was a little bit of talk out there about women who had breast implants had a higher risk of brain tumors or certain cancers, or I think certain kinds of mental illness. And at the time they were trying to say that it could be that the kind of women who get breast implants also have higher risk for those things, because maybe they're emotionally unstable to begin with. So it was the gaslighting, eh? Or maybe they're risk takers. They get implants and they smoke cigarettes, or who knows what. Looking back now, I feel like, they were saying correlation doesn't equal causation, and let's find any other excuse for why these women are getting cancers and having all these problems, other than it's the implants. But now there's more information coming in that women do have problems. There's a certain percentage that do. It's official now, officially recognized there's a certain amount of risk for a certain type of lymphoma with certain kinds of implants, not the ones that I have. Mine are saline in a smooth silicone bag. But then there's the other things like the body aches, the fatigue, dizziness, fainting, hair loss. Those are all ones that I have. Digestive issues and skin problems, which I don't have. Joint pain, which I don't have. There are a lot of women saying they've developed these things, and even worse, it can turn into autoimmune disorders. Now, there seems to be some connection possibly with, I think scleroderma was one of them, maybe lupus, certain types of arthritis. I don't remember the others. None of it applies to me. Thank God I don't have any of those conditions. But it seems like having the implants, for some women, it creates so much inflammation. Eventually their body rebels and attacks itself and creates autoimmune disease. But nobody said any of that at the time. Maybe they really didn't even know. And even now, they're reluctant to admit there could be a problem. Although, if you look into it, I think breast implant illness is recognized as a thing, but it's still kind of iffy. Like, well, maybe you have it. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's not. I think it's a thing, and the doctor that I'm going to see, he believes it is also, because he says that 90% of his patients, or more than 90%, improve after explant. And when they tried to say, oh, maybe it's a placebo effect, he pointed out that not only do they report feeling better, but their lab values change. Their thyroid values change. Their CRP goes down. So inflammatory markers change. And you cannot fake that. That is not placebo effect. So he is a believer. And so am I. And I think he knows what he's doing. So I chose someone who's very experienced with explants and BII. Now, for the first, 17 years, I had no issues. No issues with my boobs, no capsular contracture, no issues with my health. I didn't really like having them because, yes, you can't lie on your stomach, and when you go to the gym and you do certain things that use your pecs, the implants kind of pop up. So there were some minor issues, but it's hard to find a bra to fit also. But, on the whole, it was just it was fine. And I just, whatever, it wasn't an issue. About 10 years ago, I started having really bad fatigue. And I started posting here. Sometimes you'd see me saying that I had what I called a body migraine. And I was like, why do I have pain all over? I would get dizzy spells out of absolutely nowhere. I would sometimes get a dizzy spell where actually my blood pressure was dropping. They say I have POTS. I have some hypermobility, so they kind of ascribed it all to that. My hair started falling out. Basically, I started feeling more and more like crap. I went through every possible route to try to figure out what's wrong with me. I've been documenting this on YouTube, so if you know, you know. Is it my thyroid? Is it some kind of deficiency? Is it my B12? Was it iron? Was it the hypermobility? Was it menopause? I got on HRT. We explored everything, and literally no one could find anything wrong with me. It's not my iron, that's for sure. It's not my thyroid. Nobody could figure it out. They start treating me like I'm a head case. I'm a hypochondriac. I'm suffering every day. I'm in pain all the time. My whole body hurts. It hurts right now. My body hurts so much. And the fatigue is horrible. And the brain fog, I'll read something and I'm like, what did I read? I don't feel like I'm fully there. Everything just seems harder and harder. And I had heard about breast implant illness, and I didn't really take it that seriously. I mean, I knew it was a real thing, but I was like, no, maybe it's not that. But honestly, I've explored everything else, and there's nothing else left. And the other thing is, they've been in there for 27 years, and I'm really ready to move on. I don't need them anymore. I want them out. I've been scared to get the surgery. Actually, 15 years ago, I went to ask about taking them out and replacing them, because you're supposed to do that. And when he told me it cost $10,000, I was like, well, I don't have that much money to spend on my boobs, so I didn't do it. Because he told me, well, if they're not bothering you, then don't bother. So then another 15 years went by, or whatever, 17 years. So here I am with these very old implants, and the fact is they don't last forever, so I have to get them out at some point. And I would rather do it now while I'm basically healthy. I don't have any cardiac issues or diabetes or whatever else. I basically have a clean bill of health, other than I feel like shit all the time. This is probably from the implants, or maybe not, I don't know. But I basically have a clean bill of health, so it's better I do it now. And the other thing is, because I have BII symptoms, it's better I get it done as soon as possible, because maybe that really is what's wrong with me. And it's been such a struggle And it just keeps getting worse. Like, no matter what I do, people, every time I bring up my health issues, people are like, you need to take this or you need to take that. Or it's, no, I think it's because I have silicone foreign bodies inside my body for 27 years and my body's getting sick of it. No amount of iodine or NAC or B12 or what have you is going to change that. These things need to come out, or I'm probably never going to feel right again. So that's where I'm at. I'm ready to get it done, and I'm a bit scared, of course, because it's major surgery. They cut it open and they cut your boob like this, and then mine are under the muscle, so they have to like get under there, and then they're going to take them out en bloc, which is like they take out the capsule, because your body forms a capsule around the implant. And apparently, if you have BII symptoms, it's important to take the whole thing out, take out the whole capsule, preferably en bloc, which means it's one piece, which means they're going to go in there, they're going to open it all up, and then they're going to try to separate this capsule, which is now stuck to my chest wall, separate it from the chest wall, scrape it off. You can imagine what a big surgery that is, but you know what? I'm going to have to do it. And like, do I regret having the reduction and all that in the first place? You know, not really. I mean, you know, you make decisions when you're young and you do what you think is best. I mean, looking back, you know, if it was me now talking to my old self, I'd say, don't do it, you know, wait a bit, or maybe you just need a lift. You don't really need to do that. Or if you, I mean, if I had just known that he was going to take so much off, I wouldn't have done it. Other than that, if he had really just taken off the 250 grams and left me with a decently shaped breast, I probably would have no regrets and I would have never gotten the implants. So, you know, my advice to myself would be like, heads up, he's going to take off like, you know, a lot more, almost twice as much. But I mean, whatever, you know, whatever. It worked out sort of okay. And honestly, I had a lot more mobility after my breast reduction. Gone were the days of holding my boobs down, of not being able to run, of not being able to dance. That was all gone. And so that was good. So I don't really regret it, because it did change my life in a better way in that sense. Were there other problems with it? I mean, yeah, but do I regret getting the implants? Honestly, not really. At the time, it was the right thing for me. I mean, if I would give people advice now, I'd say don't ever get implants. But I mean, you can't, what's the point of regretting what you did when you were 25, you know, or 26, whatever. So long ago. At the time, it was right for me. And so now I got to do what's right for me now, and that's take them out. And so, you know, I'll keep you posted. I'm probably going to like post extra information about it on Patreon if you want to join my blog, which means you also get notified about my uploads, and you can message me and get other sort of perks. Thanks for joining me in the chat, and thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.